Let's make something fun. Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. And you will see I have 3 envelopes. These have been decorated up using Tim Holtz collage tissue paper. I had some spare and I've just decorated these envelopes. So they have now been repurposed into beautiful envelopes for which to send happy mail. And on top, I'm putting what will become scrap packs for sending. And these are going to be giveaways. And I'm missing that one because I've left it over there. But what this is the giveaway for the 6,000 subscribers. So I am going to be calling out the winners today for these packs. Then I'm going to write a note on there, fill it with some extra bits and bobs, and all the goodies are going to come to you and they will be sent out to the winners. So there's some really interesting papers in there. I'm going to put some Japanese script in there, and there will be some other nice things as well, and that is what's happening. So getting the yellow phone, I've already loaded in the video from where I asked you to answer the questions, and I am going to be able to pick the winners. So that's all fine. I've got the comments, so we're ready to go. If you watched a few videos ago, you may remember me making these, which was just a nice little packet for stamps, just a fun idea made using wax paper. And when I was making them, I was asking about wax paper and how easy it was for people to find wax paper in their countries. And without realising it, we did a worldwide survey on the availability of wax paper. So, just to very quickly give you my findings on that, wax paper is really hard to come by in the UK. It tends to only be available for catering purposes such as sugarcraft or baking, cake making. Specialist shops like that will stock it, but most good craft shops will stock wax paper. That is very translucent to the point where you can easily see through the stamped images like that. And wax paper is a tissue paper that I've now learnt, and it's impregnated with wax on both sides. So if you iron it on one way, you're going to get wax on your iron. If you turn it over the other way to try and iron it that way, you'll get wax on the iron that way. So do not iron wax paper because it does not operate in the same way as a baking sheet. So then there is baking sheet, greaseproof paper, baking paper. Cookie sheet is all the same thing, and this is available like that. You may even know it as deli paper. Available like that. This has got a silicone coating on it. It can be ironed, it can go in the oven, it's not going to melt on you, and it has multiple uses and is very, very useful for crafts and for cooking. It's widely available in the unbleached brown tone, which is perfect for vintage journaling, and it is also more readily available in the UK in a white cookie sheet paper like that. So it's exactly the same thing, but it is not translucent, so it is nothing like wax paper. Wax paper and greaseproof paper, totally separate things. So there we go, now we know the difference. So these cookie baking papers can go in the oven, no problem at all, and they have got a coating of silicone on them, food grade silicone, and that's absolutely fine. Whereas wax paper has a coating of food grade paraffin wax all over it, and it cannot go in the oven because it will start smoking. So it's really only for wrapping up your leftover meats, cheeses and things that you may have seen. We don't so much tend to do that now in the UK because everything comes packed in some sort of plastic wrap or its own packaging anyway. So this is just an extra step, really. So we don't really have this anymore. It is really used for craft. So what I'm saying is, if you can find it, it is a wax paper, it's translucent, it's absolutely great for anything like that. You are going to struggle to stick anything to it because it is waxy, and the moment it gets warm it's going to come unstuck. Greaseproof paper isn't much better either, but there are speciality glues, of course, that you can buy that will help that process, but that's an extra expense. So if you are thinking of attaching anything, staples, sewing, paper clips, that will work nicely with that. So if you are wanting to get a glassine effect, then the wax paper is a really good option if you can get hold of it. This roll has 50 foot on it of length, so it is, you know, it's a really good amount. But if you're looking at these things, have a look and see how much you can get your glassine bags for, because it may be that you can buy those cheaper in your country. But I find glassine bags very hard to come by as well, so that was quite a good option, was to use the wax paper. It was just a little bit of fun really to make those, so I enjoyed doing that as a project. But I just thought I'd say, so in Australia apparently Woolies or Coles stock wax paper, and New Zealand have said that they don't have it, but neither do we in the UK really. We really have to search for it. So there we go, that was a little bit of a fun fact find about wax paper around the world. So thanks for all your feedback, and yes, it's readily available in America, so thank you for the feedback on that. And we thought that the only reason it may have been awkward to get hold of was perhaps when we were all in a lockdown situation, perhaps in 2020, and supplies were not getting to the certain places as easily as they once did. So perhaps that's where that information came from. So I just thought I'd clear that up for you. And now we're going to get on with the giveaway. I'm just loading everybody's comments on here. So there's 76 chances on this one, so that's quite fun. And there'll be some other bits that will go with it, and I'm going to pack them up really quickly so that I can ship them out as soon as possible. For everybody here, I'm going to press the start button and we'll find out who has won the first packet. Okay, first packet, here we go. You're all whizzing through. Career Ladder LLC. Wow, 6,000, you really are growing. I watch the YouTube videos to learn new techniques and then just for fun to see what people are doing. I watch YouTube videos instead of television. If I'm going to invest my time in watching something, I want to be learning something new. Oh, there you go. So now you know all about wax paper. Well done, Career Ladder. That is fine. So this one is going to you. Oh, that's fun. This is fun. I like this. This is a nice, fun thing to do. Okay, so we're going to pick now for number 2. Press the button for number 2. Here we go. Sean Robinson. I'm trying to make my very first journal and I've learnt so much from your videos. I love them. Oh, that's brilliant. I'm not sure where you're from, but you are the winner of the second pack, Sean. So well done. You need to email me your addresses. So if you're a winner here, you need to email me your address to the email address popping up on the screen now and in the description below. Otherwise, you could do that by Instagram, by Facebook, or by my coffee shop. There's 3 ways of messaging me privately there if the email is a problem for you. So get the emails over and I can get these off to you guys. Okay, and now we're going to pick for the pack number 3. Don't worry, there are some stamps and some other things to go in there. I've just left them over the other side of the room. But I am now picking for number 3 winner, I think. Why hasn't that working? Oh. So we will get those and they will be going off to prize number 3. Who is this? Fifi, lovely. Fifi Du Bois from Kent in the UK. You are going to win that 3rd pack. That's fantastic. So do email me your address and I will get that off to you. Oh, that's wonderful. And you find that making things is making you feel like you've achieved something. And I think that's wonderful. That's why it's really exciting to learn new things and just have a go. So that's wonderful. So we've got our winners. I'm really pleased. And so that is super. We can now put these inside the packs. And I will find some extra things from my craft table to yours, and we'll get some stamps in that one. Okay, let's clear the decks. All right, so now if you're watching for the Builder Journal, I'm going to be showing you how to make a signature keeper today. And that is because we've got this box of all the little bits that I've been sent from swap partners. In January, I tasked the swap team to make what I was calling signature keepers, and they are slightly larger than a TN, but it's in a similar style. It could be made in any way. There was lots of different designs that came back, and this was what Shirley sent to me, and it is really, really useful. So I can now keep my pages all together with the elastic insert, and it's great because it clears the A4 paper. So this has been designed for A4 paper, but if you're making your own, you can make it bigger, you could make it smaller to the size of journal that you would like to make, or certainly the size of papers that you would like to work with. So this is what I've got to work with for my spring signature, and that is all part of what's going on in there. But some of you have said that they like the idea and could I show you how to make one. So that is fine. We're going to see how I made the one that I sent to my swap partner, which was Pat Page, and so I'm going to show you how I did that. What you would need for this is a thicker style fabric. I've actually got what I think is a felt mat here. This was a mat that came, it's really quite big. So this mat came as a big sheet. It was a blanket style thing. Here, look, I've got it here. So what happened, my husband decided to buy an exercise bike, and with that came this mat. It was all wrapped up in plastic, and it's for the purpose of putting under the bike. So it's quite a bit bigger. There was quite a lot of it, and I've cut it up because it doesn't really work very well on the floors that we've got. So we haven't used it. It didn't seem to work with the floors, and it just meant the bike was skidding about. So we haven't used it, and I thought, well, maybe I could do something with that because it's a felt type fabric. It's the thickness of an upholstery fabric. So if you're going to make something like this, you'll be looking for a thicker upholstery style fabric, and then another fabric to line the inside. So this could be some old denim, this could be a leg of a denim jean, it could be paper, it could be wallpaper that's thick, but you would then have to line it with something else just to give it a bit of strength. So the construction is the same whether you're making it out of paper or fabric. You just start with a strip, you would glue your paper together to get the length, and then instead of folding those in, you would just be sewing them on, sticking them on just to make your pockets. But I'm making this one in one piece. That gives me a folded edge. For the next bit, I found some vintage scraps of fabric, and what I want to be able to do is to piece fabric down. I'm not going to be using lots, and this is the inside. There's a slightly different texture on the outside of it, and I'm just going to put some strips, so there will be like that going across what will be the spine of this piece. So the idea is to have smaller rectangle strips, and this is perfect if you've got strips already, offcuts or scraps. So any quilters out there, this is a great one to use up strips. So what I'm going to do, I want to get a torn edge as well, so I just want to do that. And or maybe I like the bigger one, maybe we like the bigger size on that one. I like that green, that's nice. I've also got this, and I like that flower, so I'm going to do a similar thing here and just tear that down and create more scraps for another one, and then just see what works. I've probably don't want another green, that's also not very long. That was off of some blouse or something from the past. Then I think I will have a long one. This one being longer. That's quite fun. And then a blue one like that. Now I can play about and have a look at the placement of it. It's quite nice. So I'm just playing around with it here and just getting some idea of how I like it. And then I've got to think about what it would look like. So I get a stepped staggered edge on the spine once it's folded, and this will fold in. So that's really going to be how it's going to look on the front cover. Once I'm happy with my arrangement, I'm just going to sew round. I'm not going to fuss about with pins. I'm just not that sort of girl anymore. So I'm putting a slick of stick glue down, stop the fabric moving by doing that. And then same again here. And just, there we go. Now I don't have to worry about pinning it. So that's just very loosely stuck. I'm not going to go over it with my sewing machine because I'm going to be concentrating around the edges. But I haven't got any pins to hand and I'm not interested in doing that. I just want to get on and sew round my shape. So I will bring that back and you will see how that looks in just a moment. Okay, back from the sewing machine, we've got the 4 patches attached onto this felt, and then you can see the other side there, and we've got the stitching exposed. So what I will do is line it with another fabric, which I've got to choose. These come folding in eventually and make the pockets. So how it will appear is the paper will be able to sit in there with some elastic or cord, and then there'll also be the possibility of a pocket as well. So this width here is 9¼ inches, that's about 23½ centimetres, and at the moment it's 60 centimetres, which is 20 inches. That may be a bit long. I'm just going with whatever fabric I had to hand really, and I was using that edge which has already got some stitching on it, so I don't think I need to shorten it, but I could do. So you probably wouldn't need that length. You could easily make shorter pockets and that still be fine, but these will be actually quite nice deep pockets, and then it'll give the allowance to even add more pockets on there as well if that was necessary. So we'll just see how we go. Alright, so looking at the patches, I've got some puckering there, and that's because I was messing about doing some different stitches, just alternating between a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch and not particularly paying much attention to what I was doing. I just whizzed it through really quickly. I'm not bothered by that because I have the idea to add some trim. I've got some little trim bits here that I've off-cut anyway, and I was playing around seeing how I liked that. I think I'll just glue it down and maybe cover up some of those areas there, so we can just have a play and see what looks nice. And then maybe add them on like that. I think I shall just go with it. I've got the very last bits of some Fabri-Tac glue here. Okay, there's just a little drop in that bottle, so I'm going to stick that down there. So, and I'll just use Grandma's paperweight there for the moment, and then do the same on this one. I'm just doing it this way for speed for the video. I think if it were a really nice considered project, we'd put some stitches in and put that down and make that look really neat with matching thread. That's obviously one way of doing it, but this is to get a project done and to be able to have a similar effect for junk journaling. And so putting it down like that, especially if you haven't got any sewing skills, is completely fine. You wouldn't need to do the stitching, you could just glue them down. We now have the wonderful science of silicone glues at our disposal, so if it's something that you can afford the silicone glues on top of the fabric, are great, and also 3-in-1 works well for lace and trim. So the silicone glue can just roll off as well. If you get any little bits that overhang on the project, you can just take it away at the end. You could use a hot glue gun. All of that would work. Okay, lovely. Okay, I've had a good old look through and I found this polka dot fabric, which I have quite a large length of, so that's going to be the inside lining. What I'm going to do is an iron on fleece or interfacing onto the fabric so that I can just iron it on and it'll glue on here. So I've cut my fabric here and I'm going to iron it on, and on the back here I've got a heat and bond. So I've pieced together lots of loose scraps of heat and bond which I've had in the craft room from various other projects, and now I'm just going to peel off the backing here of all these pieces and glue it down with the iron. So I'm just going to iron on my lining fabric, and that will give a bit of strength to the project as well. So I shall carry on and then iron that on, and we'll come back and see what that looks like. Okay, so I have now ironed on the backing, and I am going to just make sure I've trimmed round all the edges. So I've just got this one edge here, and to trim you can either use a rotary cutter or a pair of scissors. I've got the rotary cutter here which would just take that off, but because there's already some sewing down that edge, I want to be careful that I don't cut into that with the rotary cutter. So I'm just going to take my scissors and clip it off as best I can. I'll probably go round and sew it anyway, maybe with a different colour thread, I'm not sure, I haven't decided. I think I like it this way up. I've also just found this, I'm wondering whether I might like that down the bottom. That's quite fun, or at the top. I'm just going to add that up the top, I think. You just add as you go, it's quite fun. Keep finding things, so I might find something else in a minute for the bottom. I'll have a look. That's fun, and I've got a bit more for something else another time. Opening it out now, so this is the inside. I'm going to fold it in half loosely so that I can see where everything's going to sit. So this is how I want it to appear. I want to have a gap of about 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inch, just to clear that. This is an A4 piece of paper, folded in half, so that's an A5 size. This is how it's going to appear when it's sat inside the signature keeper. And I want to leave a good 1/2 inch all the way around. So I'm looking to have my fold line around about there, bringing this tuck point in. So bringing in this tuck point, I'm just going to loosely fold that in. Where I can see my fold line there, I can now work out how far I want to be bringing this in. I'm just going to put a little sewing clip on there so that I can see how I want these to appear, and leaving a nice gap there. I think that's probably good. Okay, so I'm quite happy with my pockets that are going to be like that. They're going to be quite deep, and this is the centre bit here. That's lovely to store extra papers and things. I'm now thinking, as an extra design idea, I'm going to take away a triangle shape from the top here. Just going to draw a line and see how I like that. That will become my pocket with this section taken away, so I'll still be able to see my papers within. And I think I'm quite happy with that, so I'm going to cut that away, just using the scissors, cutting it off as if it were a piece of paper, not thinking too much about any fray because I've secured everything with an iron heat interface, so I just now need to remove this. I'm going to sew round my edges anyway, So this is how my pocket's going to appear, and sew along the bottom. That will secure this in as a pocket you'll be able to put things in, so it would look like this. Things will be able to go in there. I could even get extra bits in. Should be able to get A5 paper in that pocket and be able to see other things peeping out. With this piece, I could bring down here now, and when everything gets sewn in, we've got an extra tuck spot there for extra things. So that's happening. I'm just going to move that clip there to keep that idea. And again, I could do a similar thing over here, or I could just leave that as one nice bit. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this, because I think this might be too wide. So I'm going to take away that, and I'll cut down there using my ruler. I'm just going to draw a line, and I'm taking away a 2 inches, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm just removing 2 inches from that side, and I'm going to cut that off. Okay, like that. So that's still going to become my pocket. So I've got to sew on my triangular pocket, which can either be orientated that way and match, or it could go this way and be like that. I'll decide when I get to the sewing machine. Probably keep it like that, I think. And here we have it. So back from the sewing machine, complete with some quite ugly stitching, which I'm just going to embrace. I've got it looking like this on the front and that on the back. And then inside we open out, and this is where the signature is going to be able to be kept. And I've got to put the elastic in, and then it will be able to slot in, so we'll be able to get to the pages and work on them, pull them out, sew on them, decorate them, and then rearrange them into whichever configuration looks nice before we bind them into the journal. It's just a really fun way to keep things organised, work with in a little folder. So pockets here, I decided to make it a bit wider in the end, and so I've got a bit of a odd sort of bit there, so I'm thinking maybe I'll just embellish that. That's just a little place to embrace and embellish. And then over here I used the strip that I cut off here and have added a pocket there. And look at this, it's a bone folder holder. Hooray! I just think that's really great. And if it's not a bone folder holder, it's a place to put a pen or a pen. Might even get both in there. There you go. So now it will do tools as well. That's great. And then over here, well, that's just going to be whatever we're working on at the time. And then extra in there. So plenty will go in there, and then all the little things, all the little bits and scraps, just to be able to see them so they don't get too lost in there. So that's just lovely. It'd be something that you're working on. It doesn't really need a closure. We could have one, or we might have another elastic. I did look at the idea of bringing the extra piece in and then having maybe a popper system or something. So if you stick to the original measurement, which was 20 inches across or 60 centimetres, then you will have all these extra pieces to do this sort of thing. So that could come in here and be another pocket up there. Just cut that corner off, and that could have been an extra bit there. I don't want it, but it could be, or along here. So there's more options to play with. It could just be something down on the bottom, or it could have been a square, and then you put who made it. Maybe that could be interesting. It could become something where you have on the back there, and then you thread through something that would wrap around and be a closure. So, you know, that's a good measurement. That's 60 centimetres by 9 1/4. Which is 23 centimetres. So 23.5 centimetres, 9.25 inches by 20 inches or 60 centimetres. That was the measurement there. Fold it in, sew it up, and you've got yourself something really cool. That could be made out of paper, thick card, it could have been made out of flexible wallpaper, anything you can get your hands on. This is just a mat off of something, and then some scrap fabric that I had. That could be anything. That could have been my husband's shirt, which I nearly did. I nearly used my husband's shirt, but I then saw the polka dots and fancied those instead. And here we can add, paper clips to help keep things organised, and that is just the idea. All right, let's take these bits out. So we've seen that now, and I'm just going to show you what I'm doing to put in the elastic, which will have to be punched out eyelets. Okay, I'm going to use a hole punch. I'm going to put some holes top and bottom to add my elastic, and I've got some green elastic here which I picked up a while ago, so I was able to get some of that. I was really pleased. It was sort of an end of a line type thing, so it's a little bit bright, but I think it fits in with what I've got going on. And I'm going to have 2 holes at the top and the bottom. I might put eyelets in, I'm not sure at the moment. I'm going to just punch them out and see how that works out. And I think I'm just going to do small holes, and so I know where my centre is. I just want to be either side of that. So we want to be about there, 1/4 inch away, about there. Yeah, okay, well it was wonky, but so's everything else, so that's fine. I think I do like the idea of eyelets, so I'm just going to find some. Okay, so you can see the holes are in there. They're a bit higgledy-piggledy. Nothing was measured. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go with it without having the eyelets, but I might change my mind. So to thread this, I'm going out and back up again. So we've got that on the outside. Then I'm going out the bottom one and back up again from the back. Oh, there we go. And then I just maneuver it around, so I'm going to be having 2 elastics there. I don't want to make it so tight that it gets bunched up, so I've just got to draw it in and make it fit in. Cut that there, and we've got more for another time. And then that's where I just will tie that, and I'll have my 2 elastics, and I'll just sort of wiggle it about until I get the tension right, and then I can adjust it. So the simplest way here is to just tie a little knot. So that's very loosely how that can work, and it is so neat you hardly notice it. So they're there. And now if I'm now I can decide whether I wanted to put eyelets in there and make more of a feature of it. I think it would be quite nice, so I'm going to do that. I think I'll just undo that and we can see how that looks. So I'm just squashing those on. Last one. There we go. I'm also thinking about having one in the middle, and I think I could just use my awl and make a punch. So I'm just getting the big guns out here and using my Crocodile Big Bite, and that's the Crocodile Big Bite 2. One of the rare occasions that I actually use it and it becomes useful is to do the centre of binding and putting in things like that. So please don't go rushing out and buying one. You can probably get away with a cheaper alternative that just allows you to get to the centre of a project. Whereas this, I find that this does multiple things for close work to the edge. This is useful, but I think there'll be a much cheaper way to get to the centre for a hole punched area, and wiggling that awl would have been a way to do that. Alright, so let's thread this back up now with the eyelets. So going out to the outside and back in. So we've got this happening like that. So we've put in a loop there, bring it down, and then go out the bottom and back into the inside like that. So now we've got space for 2 signatures in this one. So this has got 2 strings on. You could just have 1 string for 1 signature, but this is going to be able to house 2 signatures. And from here I can make sure everything's taut, and then I can just tie my little knot in here to make sure everything is going to stay put. Okay, and then I can cut the threads shorter when I'm happy with it. So we'll just leave it like that for the moment. Okay, I've got my elastic. I know it's a bit too long, but I'm just going to see how it would look if I have a little embellishment, maybe a bead, perhaps a button, and have a look in the old tin and see whether I can maybe like a button that will come on there. I quite like the idea of the two holes in those buttons, these vintage ones, or a green one. Do I like that one? That's nice. I'm just auditioning these buttons now, seeing what they look like, because they've got to go with the green, and I like these sized ones, so that's lovely. That's also lovely, but it doesn't stand out against the grey background. And then I've got this sort of red coloured one, which I quite like, and that's gonna go like that. So we'll see. I think it's this one, isn't it? It matches that flower, so let's go with that. Great. That's nice. Oh, lovely old buttons. Okay, so that'll sit like that. Now that I've got my closure organised, I think I am going to put a little bit of felt on there as well. So I'm going to just cut away a bit of this and give myself a rectangle piece like that. And I'll round the corners as well. And just round the corners like that. Punch some holes in here. Then I'm threading this through and out the other side there. And that will give me a protective piece like that. That's my decorative button embellishment there, and then the whole lot goes through the centre. So now I thread that through, and then I just tie a knot off here when I'm happy. Okay, so that's that. We're done. There we go. So that's the simplest way of doing that, and I can cut those a little bit shorter. I can put a bead on it if I want to stop it from coming out. Okay, so closure is on, and now all I need to do is to add my signature pages, which I'm going to be using for the Builder Journal. I keep moving these around, swapping and changing my mind, but I'm going to be putting this in the first one here. And I can even put both of those elastics in there for the time being, because I don't need to have 2 at the moment. And then I can work out how best to have this. So from here I can now easily swap out the papers and change them around so that they sit differently in what will become my journal. And I might prefer the look of that. And then start planning the pages, and from here I can start loading up this. I can embellish over here if I want to add some more trim or something interesting. I might want to add a bit of lace there. In fact, I think I do. Cut that off there. and that's now stuck down as a bit more of an interesting find. And then what we need is a bone folder. I think anything a little bit more fragile can probably come and be tucked in here, so that keeps that all safe. That wasn't one I've had from the swap. And I'm going to add this little, and I'm going to add this bone folder in here like that. That's really sweet. Okay, so this is the one I'm working on now, so we can have that closure like that. Bring that round if we want it. Don't think I do. Not sure I like that bit. Might remove that. Have the button. There we go. Oh, so now I'm all organised with my signatures. This is the one I'm working on. These are my others, and they are all going in the box nice and neatly, and they won't get scruffy. So those are journal signatures on the go. There we go. So, I like this. This one gives me the ability to store more. And not sure about that paper, so we'll tuck that one in there. So these are my other signatures to pull from. There we go, so I've got spring and summer in this one, and then I've got autumn and winter in this one. That's great, and we'll keep that all together. So now I've got everything here where I can find it. I can start having a play, so I can really look at what I've been given from my swaps, and I can start building into the first signature, and then start looking at the second signature ahead as well, and be able to work out if I want to swap the papers around. And it just simplifies things, so I can use that and get on. And there's my closure, and that is what I'm working on for my builder journal in the background, this slow burner project that we've got going on. And I'm really pleased that you've come along for the ride so that you can see how that is. So that's already one half of the journal going in there, and that elastic is nice and stretchy, so that's fine. And there'll be that there to protect it when it gets bigger. Otherwise it can just be moved to the back. Fun, or taken off, or embellished. So there we go, that was really good fun. So that's how to do a signature keeper. There are many ways, but this one was just a soft one. It will work really well with a nice thick upholstery fabric. It will work well with linen, calico, cotton, anything thick. And then you just strengthen it up by layering it with another fabric, and off you go. You can sew it or glue it. You don't need to worry about your stitching. It's just a bit of fun. And then add pockets by gluing things on if you want to. Bone folder, pen holder. Fun idea to keep my pen, my bone folder, and everything that I might want to have for this project. So I'm just going to do that up now, and I will be dipping back into that tomorrow and having a go, because it's all here now ready to play with. I really feel inspired. So that's how to do a signature keeper or holder. I hope that that was fun for you. Do have a go, have a play, keep your signatures safe, as we might want to sew things and embellish. We're not ready to sew anything in yet because we don't know what we're doing to them, so it's a nice way to just work on papers without having to bind them in. You don't even need to bind them in now. You've got that, and you can just enjoy it and write on it. And if you don't like something, you can swap it out. It's easy. It's not anything that you've committed to sewing in. You can sew that in at the end of the year. All right, so that's what we're doing. We're not sewing anything into a journal at the moment. This isn't the journal cover. This is something that I will use year on year until it falls apart, and then I'll make another one. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope this was fun. Do please like and subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up and a comment below if you thought it was worth your time. And above everything else, guys, just slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.